Hello everyone and welcome to Ginger Prime. My name is Brian if you're new around here, and if you're a returning subscriber, congratulations. You've unlocked the legendary status title, Speak to the Innkeep for your free drink. That's what chat told me to tell you guys this morning, and today we're diving into this New World delay. Yesterday, as I was on break, spending time with my wife for her birthday, taking care of the kids, I saw a lot of tweets come in at the end of the day asking me, what did I think about the New World delay and more? And so I said, you know what, let's just go ahead and talk about it live here on Twitch in the morning. So if you're hanging out with me live, you unlock an extra special legendary title of Epic Lord of Wind. There it is. Usually I put a little bit more thought into it, but it is what it is. We're going to have some fun today. So, New World was originally set to release at the end of August. This is the fourth delay in the game's history. And I have some bittersweet thoughts about this. I've been really kind of like, when I saw this delay, like, I'm not going to lie, like the initial thought was my heart sunk. And the second thought I had was, I hope this is the last of the delays. I thought the game was ready in the context that, there's going to take some polish. It's a games as a service game. It's an mmorpg. Like, I don't expect it to be fully featured, like having, 10 years of a decade worth of content at day one. I love the journey of change. I love the journey of the game's evolution. However, obviously I've saw a lot of people, saying that it wasn't ready, that the game needed more time. And I've even seen people call for yet another year delay, which I personally feel is ridiculous. Like, at some point you do have to release the game. But let me go ahead and talk about the official statement here, kind of set the context hopefully correctly, give some more of my thoughts, and then we'll actually spend some time in this Twitter thread going over some of the reactions that I've seen. We'll also take and highlight what chat is saying as well. So this is hopefully going to be a lively discussion, but as always, your thoughts are more than welcome. Sound off in the comments below and let me know what you think. A message from the New World team. We are humbled by the support New World received from players around the world throughout the closed beta. During the beta, more than 1 million venturers played more than 16 million total hours. I think I saw another number saying it was like 25 million. Like, it was ridiculous. Thanks to your support, New World became one of the most watched games on Twitch. That Twitch integration is really interesting. And one of the most played games on Steam. The passion and enthusiasm you've shown for New World validates the work we put in over the last year, improving the base game on your feedback. I felt like, especially coming from last year, I was excited and I enjoyed it last year. The changes and the evolution the game has made thus far, I think has been really awesome. Like, I was like, this is great. Yes, there's bugs. Yes, there's exploits, and those definitely need to be addressed, right? But I want to have I don't want my progress to be reset ever again. So I'm torn as a content creator. If they do another beta, like, yeah, I need to be there and I want to play it. I want to make sure that I get you guys the information that you need when deciding whether to buy this game or to play this game, or hopefully help, ease people into the world, just like with my New World controller guide. Like, it's one of the things I'm really excited to see. We did know, and they did say that the native controller support wasn't going to make original launch, but we have yet to see if there's any updates on that. But anyway, let's continue on. Along the way, you've also given us a ton of feedback that we'll use to make New World even better. We want New World's launch to be a smooth and fun experience for all players, and that means making some improvements based on what you've encountered during the closed beta. We are going to take a few extra weeks to smash bugs, improve stability, and polish the game. New World's global launch date is set for September 28th, 2021. The bittersweetness in all of this is that I hope this is the last delay. I hope that it does launch on the 28th. If they needed it to be October 28th, like, I would just say, just tell me the date, right? Don't cyberpunk this out and then eventually it's out and then it's like, oh God, maybe there's a problem or something along that line. But from what I've experienced, I'm not really worried about that. Like, the bugs can be fixed, polish can be applied, and more. And the fact that it's just another month, it makes me go, okay, hopefully this is the release date, right? We've seen it move and time again, which makes it, and this isn't a woe is me, but as a content creator, it's like, like all that news that has been put in the past videos in a guide, like the, which class should you start out, like what's the best starting class, like that becomes like, yeah, that date is no longer valid. I don't want to refresh that video just yet, because now the question that I've seen is, will this be a good way for them to introduce even like another weapon before or at the time of launch, or before the time of launch? Because that's always been part of the rumor. That's part of the data mining that people have done. They see skills that are attached to weapons that aren't yet, equipable or droppable, or, in that regards within the game's world. And so like something like a greatsword or something like more magic weapons, currently the weapons at the time of this recording are set to 11. My always hope with it is that with 11 weapons, that gives a lot of different build variety to players at the start, and to follow it up with their first big update with a new weapon. Because at some point, like, you'll have the streamers, you'll have the full-time content creators who have that time, who can just like live in that game, like clear out more content that you and I, regular guys who just have a job and sit down and have a family and, like maybe put a couple hours in every night, like they'll have, like, having that extra weapon drop will be a way to keep obviously the high-end players engaged, while at the same time not punishing low-end players for not being at cap, unless for some reason they do something ridiculous like saying you have to be a certain level to start equipping a certain weapon, which I don't see happening. I think that essentially would defeat the purpose of what they've got with their sandbox. Anyway, so we'll come back to more about this date specifically here in a bit. This was not an easy decision to make. We know that it isn't the first time that we've changed our launch date in pursuit of quality, and that it can be disappointing to wait a bit longer. We want to make sure that we deliver you the highest quality game possible at launch, and thank you for your support and feedback. We're listening, and see you in Turnham. I've seen a lot of mixed feedback on the forums. I provided some feedback. I actually talked about it in a specific video. If you guys are interested in it, it's just like the changes of the new world that's needed. I talk about, like, I'd like to see open world mob farming be a thing in New World. It was a thing, but then they switched it up a little bit. And then essentially the exploit, if you guys aren't aware, is that the town boards, you could go grab all the town board quests in all the cities, do them once because they all had the same shared progress, turn them all in for massive gains in experience. And I think that's something that obviously will get patched out and fixed, especially with the additional time going from, August to September. So roughly 60 days rather than 30, giving them the time to kind of fine, polish, and fix these issues. I would like to see open world mob farming. Then the PvP side of New World, they added the ability that the longer you're alive with your PvP flag up, the more bonus experience you end up giving if you get defeated, or if you defeat another player, the longer that they've actually been alive rewards you with bonus experience. I'd like to see that same system brought into the PvE side of things. I don't know necessarily they need to increase the overall XP rate of killing like an open world mob if they add that similar bonus system to it, because I think overall that just kind of self balances and corrects itself, rather than just saying everything gets a flat, boost and XP increase. But I like that option. I like being in the open world. That's one of the things that when the game just hooks me personally, is that sense that I see players running around. I'm in the open world. The last several days of the beta, I literally just kept my PvP flag up, because how I personally look at it is I've always been kind of a 2-gamer kind of guy. We've seen some Destiny news today. I might cover that if you guys are interested. But Destiny 2 was always my PvP game. And then Destiny stopped supporting PvP apparently in their game. And they finally just said, hey, we're going to start doing some stuff, and it's going to be a little bit away, but we'll start bringing some of these maps we deleted back. It just feels ridiculous. So New World can be, for me, kind of that aspect that I long for, and a way that I can sit here and enjoy something just breathtaking. I think when you cut down your first tree, it's that's when the game hooked me. It's gonna be different for everybody. Everybody's got their own litmus test for an MMO, but for me, like, New World checks off a lot of the boxes of what makes an MMO an MMO, and that personally has me very excited. I really am. This delay is frustrating because it starts also creeping up on Endwalker's release. Endwalker dropping on the 19th of November. And that kind of stresses me out. It puts a little bit of pressure on feeling like I need to really work on my time with New World. And I don't want that for games. I don't have that same pressure even in Final Fantasy XIV. As a preview for those of you who have just come into Final Fantasy XIV and are like, oh yeah, Brian's a content creator. I think probably the number one question I get around expansion time is, hey, when is said guide being refreshed? And my response ends up being like, it could be several months from now. Like I don't have the ability to, like no life a game and put out a guide. Plus I don't think that's why a lot of people follow me specifically. I think that personally, I think I'm more relatable because, you can play Final Fantasy XIV and you can play New World and you can have a family and you can have a job. And you can find joy in this, right? Like I don't have to, thank God, I don't have to sit here and compare myself to like the other content creators out there. I enjoy their content, but that's just not me. So this is bittersweet. This is bittersweet. So there's an unnecessary pressure, and that's me putting it on me. I really want them to have the best polish that I have, but some of the feedback concerns me when it comes to New World specifically. Some of the feedback is the hyper casualization of the MMO, something like removing ammo as a resource and turning it into this infinite pool of bullets and infinite pool of arrows. I actually really enjoy that aesthetic. I personally really enjoy that mindset. It becomes a balance, right? It becomes a market. It becomes something that you can supply and make money if you want. You can supply yourself with it if you want. It also kind of balances out what it means to be ranged, right? Like, do you go double ranged or more, or do you have a range and a melee, kind of build, something to be able to kind of pick people off and more. Now, we also, like, the counter argument is hatchets and spears are unlimited. Like, you can throw your spear, but that's usually tied to kind of your cooldown and your abilities. The example we have of the past, because one of the things I've seen a lot of people say is that a delayed game is eventually good, and a rushed game essentially lives on, and then has that horribleness. That's a very famous quote that usually is kind of strung out around now. I think Cyberpunk 2077 is the counter argument to that point. They delayed. Now, obviously, there's a lot there. Like, they wouldn't let people actually play the game and talk about the game and bring up the game's issues. They struck down anybody who was even talking about it who didn't get the game via press. Like, there's a lot of problems in that, but it, no matter what, starts to say, if you needed more time, if September 28th is not the date, I really would rather them sit here and when they talk about delaying it, like, if they needed it to be in October, if they needed it to be in November, then just say that. Don't keep kicking the can down the curve just so it's perfect, because no game will be or can be. Thank you, Fred Neckdaddy, for that amazing support with that donation. So I love that. I really want to have my character and my progress go forward, and I want to say this. I think it shows a lot that they are willing to do this. I think it shows a lot, because more often than not, or every time, the conversation shifts to, we have this mindset of release the game, I'm excited, I want to play it. And then it shifts to, why didn't they delay it? And more often than not, companies kind of have this, we'll fix it later mindset. And here's Amazon saying, okay, we hear your feedback. We're going to take more time, treating this as a actual beta and not some kind of marketing PR thing. Treating this as a way of taking this game, learning the feedback, seeing the issues, looking at what it's going to take to correct those issues, and then adjusting the date accordingly. And then the question goes to say, is that what's the right way to release an MMORPG? What's the better way to release an MMORPG? Is it to fix it after it's done? Which essentially, I don't necessarily think gamers, especially in today's market, have that energy to sit here and say, I'll stick with the game and in hopes that it gets good, in hopes that they fix these issues. But with Amazon, they don't have a backlog of trust that we're sitting here going like, yeah, they definitely will. So ultimately, I think we're left sitting here saying, all right, like, if this is the last delay, great. This also reaffirms the mindset of you shouldn't take off time for an MMO, especially in the first day or first 2 days. So if you're still thinking about scheduling time off of work, I think this, if nothing else, says maybe wait. Don't take the 28th off. Consider the 29th or the 30th. What actually, I haven't even looked at a calendar. So let's look at September. The 28th is the it's the last week. So going into October, like, yeah, maybe take off the first week of October. That way, if any issues or things like that can be fixed. But let's go ahead and dive into some of the tweets that we kind of see responding. Sir Medieval says, talk about a bad day to get a tooth extraction, such as my luck. Blanket or it. 1 more month ago. Video hopefully coming in a few hours. Personally, I think that it was the right decision. There were over 40K views and 3K posts about the current state of the combat system. I have a lot expressed and provided their feedback, and their goal was to have a better than the alpha and beta version, plus other issues. I've seen, obviously, like Asmund talk about, and there's his tweet here. Good call. Looking forward to the release. Please add higher ceilings for crafting and gathering, and add a two-handed greatsword. Thank you. I would love to see the two-handed greatsword come in. I don't think like 2 months is like, they're not going to like regen the entire battle system again. I think you're going to look at the system and say, yep, they might tweak out the AI. We saw issues with, people glitching the AI, which felt more scripted than like really kind of adjusting to the player. I don't know if that's going to happen within the next 2 months, but 2 months is still quite a bit of time to kind of look at and kind of restructure some of the core complaints. I just don't want to see a hyper casualization of the game, because I think the game can and does cater to the casual nature of me as a player, but we don't necessarily have to sit here and strip out all the things that make you unique. Gamers will optimize the fun out of anything. And I think it's what we do as gamers. Like, we'll sit here and go and say, yep, let's get rid of it. Cornbread says, I'm not playing New World until they add gun shields, a greatsword, shotgun, and maybe even a 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum with daggers attached. Mounts. Did you say mounts? Oh no, you didn't say mounts. Yeah, I don't think the game needs mounts. I think that as the game evolves, they could look at adding in mounts down the road. But I want them to, I really like them. I like what Guild Wars 2 does a lot of. And I would think that from a mounts perspective, that hopefully they'll look into that. Let's see here. Y'all have got a lot of hate in this comment section. The game was amazing. Solid and extremely stable. Only crashes I had were due to server maintenance. This goes with my whole friend group. PvP is outstanding as well. And all the crafting PvE, these guys are just blanks. And such an amazing job. The people pissed at the streamers that got handed everything and didn't actually play the game the way it was intended. They were power level through board missions and giving mass to their professions. I wish it wasn't getting delayed. However, you have to do what is best for you. Chat saying, the fact that what is going on in the gaming community is affecting the release time. I mean, Amazon also might see that they are competing with 14. I don't think Amazon's actually competing with 14. I think essentially there's a complementary nature. I think like Amazon is going to compete more with World of Warcraft. 14 competes more with World of Warcraft. If you think of kind of like a triangle of what makes the game the game, WoW and 14 are very theme park. They have a lot of similarities. 14's based off of World of Warcraft. And so that there's a really easy translation there. So it's easy for players to go from one to the other. However, a lot of people don't necessarily like the aesthetic of 14. A lot of people don't like 14. And they've tried it and they said, this isn't for me. And that's a perfectly legitimate complaint, right? But that's where the other side of it comes in. Is like, there are similarities to WoW and to 14, but they're also doing something different, which I think is really needed. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be success. I just think that's going to be something that's ultimately needed, because if New World is just a copy of 14, a copy of World of Warcraft, and let's say Blizzard gets their act together and fixes these problems, well, why move over and why invest in this new experience that's the same experience, just with maybe a slightly higher visual fidelity? I think time and time again, we've seen that tried and failed. We saw that happen a lot in this, what people describe as the golden age of the MMO, which I don't think has happened yet. Personally speaking, I think the golden age of the MMO is on the horizon, and it's really exciting to see. Chat's also saying, just wait for Ashes of Creation. How long? How long do we wait for Ashes? Paying $500 to test their game. And I honestly, like, what I would love to see is that I want Ashes to be a success. Honestly, everything that they've said on paper sounds amazing. I think the people who are hyping it up are doing it a disservice. And since I don't see Ashes coming out until 2023 at the latest, like that's a long way to develop hype and more over, over the course of the game's life. And it isn't even out yet, and they're already taking your money. I've hovered over that buy button multiple times, but I just can't bring myself to do it. And hopefully we'll see. Hopefully they deliver. I hope they deliver, but it's one of the riskiest things. And it's not because what I see from Intrepid, it's what I see from the community. And I'm like, guys, just pump the brakes, just pump the brakes. I know we want something like Ashes. I know that everything on paper, I want something like Ashes, but I want to not set Ashes up to fail, if that makes any kind of sense. So I think a lot of what we've seen with New World, as kind of my final thought here, is that people are hungry, for a new game, especially a new mmorpg. Final Fantasy XIV is an excellent choice if you're concerned about New World. If you're sitting here and all of a sudden your game, your MMO of choice, for whatever reason, is no longer checking those boxes, 14 is in a really good state because it's also going into an expansion. And if you're new, it's got so much content for you as a gamer that nothing else, I think, compares. This is my personal bias, but I very well recognize that it's not necessarily going to be for everyone. So September is going to be an interesting time as they push it forward. I think they give Blizzard plenty of time to let that burn, the pain that Blizzard has caused, to kind of subside. And the question is that, they're going to need time to get people sunk in to their game and not just be a visitor of their game. And one of the things that's going to challenge that is established games bringing out content. Content is going to be the king of it all. If you have content, you've got a game, and people are going to come back and check out your game. Even if they leave, there's the chance that they'll come back. That's the Yoshi P Final Fantasy method. That's where Final Fantasy XIV, being now the king of the MMORPGs, has established that, like, every 3 months, like, here's your content. Thank you for subscribing. In 3 months, we got more content. That establishment, that trust, is something that is built with time. And so all we've seen so far from New World is delay after delay. And I respect their delay. I respect their decision. I'm rooting for a really good game. I'm rooting for the devs themselves. I think that this is the right call. I just think at some point you have to actually release the game. You can't just delay indefinitely. Players want to play, and what I've experienced is that it's a game that's ready to be played. It needs that polish, and if they need these 2 months to get that polish, that spit shine, we're perfect. We're set. Anyway, guys, this has been the video. Thanks so much for watching. You're amazing. Hopefully I'll see you in my next video, but until then, take care. I just want to say thank you so much for watching this video, and if you're listening to this voice, you are a special person, and I really do appreciate it. If you feel like watching more, YouTube's got its recommendations for you on the screen. Otherwise, I hope to see you soon. Bye.